Three.
Welcome and rejoice. The day is alive with the fullness of living. In this community, we are filled with excitement and expectation. The presence of the children touches our sense of wonder. The greeting from a friend connects us one to another. The glance of a stranger bids us to say welcome. In this holy time, made so by our gathering, we pause to celebrate our lives together. Welcome and rejoice.
Welcome, friends, old and new, to UUCDC for our annual Ingathering service. I am so happy to be with all of you this morning, even if we are inside instead of outside. I am Chrissy Buschegger, Director of Religious Education. I am joined by our Interim Minister, Roger Fritz, our Music Director, Bob Rowland, and our amazing choir, with Joy Thiessen accompanying. We are supported by our fantastic tech team and hospitality team who have shown out in full force this morning to make sure that we have a wonderful service and a picnic lunch after. If you're here in person, you'll find the words for the songs and prayers on the paper the ushers have handed out. If you still need one, which you shouldn't because you all came in through the same way, wave your hand though and one of our ushers will make sure you get one. If you're joining us on Zoom, there's a link available to the service program. In person, you're invited to join us for the picnic after the service. The way it will work is this. You'll go into Fellowship Hall, which is straight across the lobby from here. You'll get your food, and you are welcome to eat anywhere in the building that you wish to eat. You can go downstairs. We have classrooms with tables. There's some tables set up in Fellowship Hall. You can come back in here and picnic in the sanctuary. If you would prefer to remain masked and feel uncomfortable in a situation where others will take their masks off to eat, our hospitality team will wrap up food to go for you, so you can take your lunch to go. If you're joining us on Zoom, you will be invited to join a virtual coffee hour after the service. Before we enter into worship, I have two more brief announcements. The first one is that we still need a couple RE teachers. We are so close, my friends. We had a wonderful training yesterday, but our second and third graders need at least one and possibly two more teachers. If you are willing and interested in being with our second and third graders, who are an amazing group of kids, please see me after the service so we can talk about teaching in RE. It's really a valuable experience. And I'm going to call Lori Rice-Spring up for our second announcement.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Lori Rice-Spring. I'm one of the members of the executive team here at UUCDC. On behalf of the executive team, we're inviting the congregation to complete a very short and anonymous survey regarding our masking policy and our general attendance in person and on Zoom. This anonymous survey will be available to complete until the end of September. For our online participants, the survey link will be posted into the chat today and for the next 3 weeks. We'll also be sending out emails and text messages to all members in the coming days and weeks. Today we have a few hard copies at the greeting table and in the picnic area in Fellowship Hall for those of you who do not wish to do it online. And there's QR codes pasted around the church for you to do it's very short, 5 questions, to use with your phone if you'd like. Thank you so much in advance for your participation.
All right, now let us enter into worship. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing "Come Sing a Song with Me."
come to this moment not as isolated individuals, but as members of a long and ongoing heritage. As we light our chalice, let us remind ourselves of this precious heritage and strive to carry the flame forward, to pass it on to our children, and trust that they will pass it on to theirs.
Please join me now in reciting our covenant together. Enriched by our differences and joined together in our search for meaning, we covenant with ourselves and each other to seek truth in a spirit of love, to strive for justice, and to serve others with a joyful heart.
Let's be together for a moment of prayer and meditation. Let us be gentle with ourselves just now. For a few moments, let us release ourselves from a world that is too much with us, too noisy, too frantic, too demanding, too judging. Let us be gentle with ourselves just now. For a few moments, let us release ourselves into the calm, still world that waits to receive us, where the quiet is broken only by sounds of our own making, by those of our children near at hand, by passerbys in the street outside, by a bird or an airplane high overhead. Within this welcome quiet, let us befriend ourselves. Where we would unfairly and endlessly berate ourselves for our imperfections, let the tongue of harsh judgment be silent. We will do better tomorrow. We will rise to the occasion. We will surprise the world with our goodness and our achievements. But for now, let us simply rest in the gentleness of this moment, letting the healing hand of self-understanding and forgiveness touch us with peace. Amen. Let's join in singing Spirit of Life.
Good morning. I am so happy to see so many people here this morning. It makes me so happy. So it has been such a busy morning getting everything set up and so much excitement that I forgot to eat breakfast today, but it's okay. I have leftovers from RE teacher training yesterday. See, if you become a teacher in RE, there's food. So, just heads up about that. So I have a donut and I have a croissant. So I have to decide what I want to eat for breakfast. What do you think? So if you are a team croissant, give me a cheer. Croissant? Okay. And if you are team donut, give me a cheer. All right, okay. It seems like the donuts might have won that. Oh, wait, the other option is both, which, I'm team both. Yeah, that's good too. Now my hands are all sticky. So anyway, the croissant and the donut remind me of a story. Now this is a story about a little girl named Kelly. And Kelly was starting at a new school. And it was October, so it wasn't like this past week where many of us started at new schools or started, with new teachers, new classmates. This was October, so all of the classes had already been set up. The kids knew their teacher, the teachers knew their kids. Everybody kind of had their friend groups. And here was Kelly moving to a new area and starting in school. Maybe you've been in that situation before. Maybe you've been the new kid at a school. Maybe you've been the new adult at a workplace. Maybe you've been a new person here at UUCDC. Maybe you remember the first time you came. Maybe the first time is today. Maybe you're the new interim minister with all these people here. I wonder how Kelly feels. I bet you can think about how you would have felt in that situation. Maybe she feels a little anxious, maybe a little excited, a little worried. There's probably a lot of feelings. So Kelly was there on her first day at this new school, and the morning went great. She had a really, really nice teacher. It always helps when you have a really, really nice teacher. She had a really nice teacher. The other kids seemed nice. But she didn't really get to know them. They did science and math and a little bit of reading. And then it was time for recess. And Kelly went out onto the playground at recess. And all the kids were in little groups, talking to their friends. It was one of those days where it rained, so they weren't allowed to use the field. Isn't that the worst recess? And they all had to be on the blacktop. Yeah, I'm getting some nods. That's the worst. So they were all on the blacktop. They were in little groups. And some of the groups were really tight circles, kind of like a donut shape, right? They were all tight together, and they were chit-chatting. And when Kelly would walk over to these donut-shaped circles, no one really noticed her. It wasn't like the kids were trying to be mean. It wasn't like they were trying to exclude her. They were just busy looking at each other, talking to each other, laughing with each other, and they didn't see Kelly because they were in a tight little donut shape. Now, Kelly could have probably walked over to one of those circles and introduced herself and said, "Hey, can I join your group?" But that's a hard thing to do, you know? It's a hard thing to do for kids. It's a hard thing to do for grown-ups. And maybe someday Kelly would have felt brave enough to do that, but today was not that day. So she just stood on the playground, feeling kind of alone. And then she saw a group that was more in a croissant shape. This croissant is kind of flat, but a croissant shape kind of is like a crescent, right? That group was more in a croissant shape. And as Kelly looked over at them, one of the kids in the group saw her looking and waved. And Kelly went over, and they started talking to each other. And they talked about what they were going to dress up for Halloween. And they talked about where the best places in the neighborhood to get the full-size candy bars were, because that's a really important thing to know if you're new in a neighborhood. And one kid even invited her to a Halloween party. After that day, whenever Kelly went out onto the playground, she tried to remember to make sure her group was in a croissant shape, not a donut shape, because she wanted to be inclusive as well. All right, so this story has made me so hungry. What about you? And I think I want to be a croissant, but I would definitely rather eat a donut. Thank you for listening to my story.
This month's Share the Plate recipient is the Chester Children's Chorus, a program of Swarthmore College that provides year-round music and math education to children of Chester. During the school year, children and youths ages 7 to 18 develop their vocal talents through rehearsals and concerts, as well as their math skills through small group and individualized instruction. Since its founding in 1994, more than 600 children have participated in the program, which equips them for academic and personal success in their community and beyond. So instructions for donating via text can be found in the printed order of service and on the screen.
A lot of microphone juggling this morning, and I'm going to steal Bob's thing. So we brought our rocks with us this morning. Is there anything more ordinary than a rock? A rock doesn't do anything, really. In fact, rocks aren't anything special. They just kind of are. That is, they're not special until we make them special. If we use them to build a house or a wall, if we shine them up, not this one, but a different one, if we shined it up and gave it as a ring, that might be something special. And that's what we're going to do with these stones this morning, the stones that you brought in today. We're going to make them special. In fact, we've already done that. You picked them up. Maybe you picked them from the bowl outside, and that's okay. Or maybe you picked them from somewhere that you were this summer. We noticed what they looked like. We put them in our hands and our pockets. They are a reminder of someplace special. Wherever your stone came from, whatever meaning you gave it, you brought it today as a gift for us. A gift we will put to good use in the coming church year, in our weekly ritual of joys and sorrows. Dropping these stones into a bowl of water is the way that we share our gladness and our sadness with each other. As the stone sends ripples through the bowl of water, our ripples of joy and sadness go through our community. Just as the stone dropped in the water is held in that water, so the person who drops the stone is immersed in the love of our community. So now I will offer a blessing for these stones and upon all who hold them in the coming year. Please join me in prayer. Rock of river, rock of mountains, ancient rock of endless time, we bless you. You have come to us from distant lands and from our own backyards. You are the world made visible in this sacred space. We give thanks for your presence among us. May you carry well the joys and sorrows, the celebrations and concerns that are entrusted to your care. Be strong for us. Be the foundation upon which this community is built. May all who have brought you here and all those who hold you in the year ahead feel the steadfast love that surrounds them. May they be held fast by the constant care and compassion of this community. And in the days to come, may our use of these simple stones for naming and claiming the sacred moments of our lives remind us to seek out the holy in the ordinary things. Amen.
Good morning and welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Delaware County. It is good to have you with us in person or on Zoom. Now, I don't say these words casually or lightly. It is really good to have you with us. You didn't sleep in. You didn't stay home to do various repairs on your house. You aren't on your way to a sports game, a football game somewhere. You're not at home, I hope, watching Meet the Press. You're not sitting in traffic on your way to or from the beach. You are at church, here, present in this room, or on Zoom. You made a conscious decision to get up, get yourself to church, and not just any church, but this church. So I, for one, I'm really glad you're here. But why are you here? Each of you has your own story. In my own case, I confess that I am a shy, reserved person. When I visit a church just to attend the services, I'm often the person you find by the bulletin board reading all the notices during coffee hour. As a child, I did not make friends easily, but there was an exception in my childhood. When my parents took me to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Phoenix, Arizona, I felt welcomed by the adults and the children. At church, in the Sunday school classes, I made friends. When I was 8 years old, second and third grade ages, we had, I don't know if you're going to do this year, but the curriculum in the 1950s, when I was 8 years old, was the story of Joseph and his coat of many colors. Not doing that this year. It had a profound impact on me. If you're a child, you might want to ask your parents about it, because Joseph's father liked him more than his brothers and gave him a really, really nice coat. And his brothers were so annoyed with this that they threw him down a well. This is a fascinating story for an 8-year-old. But then some slave traders came by and they said, you know, we could make some money off of our brother. So they pulled him out of the well and they sold him into slavery. And I wondered if my older sister had ever thought about doing that with me. That was the Unitarian church that I was going to when I was 8 years old. A few years later, we studied comparative religion in a program called The Church Across the Street. And we visited other churches in the community. We studied the Quaker beliefs, and then the next Sunday we went and attended a Quaker meeting. And we studied the Mormon church, and then we attended a service at the Mormon church. We studied the teachings of Judaism, and on a Friday night we went to the synagogue and attended a service there. And I learned about the need to respect people who have different religious beliefs than my own. 60 years later, after that, I still remember the names of the teachers of those classes. Dana Nichols. I can see Dana's face in my mind. He worked for Social Security during the week, but he taught as a volunteer in religious education in the church school. And he was a good man, a very competent man. I learned about honesty and integrity and kindness from Dana. Ray White, Ray was an engineer who worked in engineering in Phoenix during the week, but volunteered to teach in our religious education program on Sunday morning. I still remember Ray White. I remember his face. I remember what a good man he was. My values were just starting to form, and these teachers played a critical role in teaching me to think for myself, to be honest, and to respect others. So if you want to make a difference in the lives of others, volunteer to teach in our religious education program. Then I entered high school, and I was, as a 14-year-old, a freshman in high school, I went to my first meeting of what we then called Liberal Religious Youth. How many remember LRY? A few of you. It was a wonderful high school group in Phoenix, but I was 14 and the seniors in the group were 17 and 18 years of age, and I was very intimidated. These folks, they knew they were so much more mature than I was, and I didn't feel comfortable at all, so I didn't go back. Except that a few weeks later, one of them called me on the phone at home and said, we're going to have a retreat at Horse Thief Basin, north of Phoenix, for a weekend, and we really hope you'll come. And I did sign up, and I did go, and they treated me, even though I was just 14, like a full part of the group. And I became very active in the high school youth group. Now, I look back at that time, and in the church, there were no bullies, not among the kids or the adults. No one made fun of me or others. There was no discrimination based on social status. And I eventually became a minister because I wanted to help others have the same experience of acceptance. Well, I'm still shy now at 71 years of age, and this is also part of the reason I'm a minister. Alfred North Whitehead has written, religion is what an individual does with their own solitariness, And as a child, I loved to go to the library to check out as many books as were allowed and go home and read them by myself. I still love my time alone with a good book. But I need balance between privacy and participation, between solitude and society, between individualism and community, between an inner life and an outer life. They must nurture each other. For over 2 years, all of us all over the world have struggled with the isolation of the pandemic. In religious communities everywhere, the virus has been devastating to attendance in services. Churches are slowly recovering. There are reports that there are a lot of new people coming to Unitarian churches for the first time this fall. As a shy person who enjoys being around other people, this church provides me a place where I can come each Sunday and sometimes during the week. Here I can be with others who accept me as I am. I think there are many people in media and in the world like me, seeking a home like this. Now, I can't predict the future, but I'm hoping that soon the virus will be under control such that more and more of us will feel safe being together on Sundays in church. In times of celebration, in times of loss, the church community is where we can turn. It is a source of friendships. I think of a Calvin and Hobbes cartoon. In the cartoon, Calvin couldn't sleep. He said, I think the reason nighttime is so dark is so that you can imagine your fears with less distraction. At nighttime, the world always seems so big and scary, and I always seem so small. I wish I could fall asleep so it would be morning. In the cartoon, he pulls the covers up over his head with a deep sigh. Then he bounces up again and he looks over at Hobbs in another bed. Look at Hobbs, he's asleep. He sure looks funny when he sleeps. Tigers close their eyes so tight. I wonder what he's dreaming about. Good old Hobbs, what a friend. He reaches over and he touches Hobbs and he says, "Things are never as scary when you've got a best friend." Indeed, things are never as scary when you've got a friend. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Delaware County. It is good to have you with us. Yes. Let's extinguish the chalice. After the closing hymn, Forward Through the Ages. Some of you may know this tune with other words. As we close this service, look around and see what others have given to this church. Remember the times your life was enriched by being here. Feel the events that have touched and sustained you, and imagine what a difference we might make in the lives of others today and tomorrow. Let's say the benediction together. For those who come here,
God, may God be with you. For those who come embracing life, may life be prepared. And for those who come to pass, may a way to pass and courage to take it step by step. Blessed be.
Now I will go to the back and read the
I thought so.